Let's see what's going on. What is the idea of this note? Let's look in our React components for the note. React DevTools for the note. Key, okay, we see the ID of this one. So let's try to go to notes/that because we know this user has permission to see it. It's not loading in the form, and I get a console error. Note form is changing a controlled input of type text to be uncontrolled. Input elements should not switch from controlled to uncontrolled, or vice versa. Decide between using a controlled or uncontrolled input element for the lifetime of the component. Maximum call stack size exceeded. So it's doing things over and over. So it keeps changing the props every time I call set current note, which keeps sending them down, doing this again, setting current note again, because the props, I get new props again. So I only want to set current note if the ID doesn't match the one I've already got, right? So I get the new ID, and I say if this.props current note .id, well, if new ID not equal that, right? Then I'm going to do those next two things. I still have this warning. I still have maximum call stack size exceeded. Let's see, console log, new ID. In fact, I'm going to say new ID colon new ID and console log current ID this.props .current note .id. Okay. And it is doing it over and over and over. Current ID is undefined and it's staying undefined. It is because the props keep changing. So why do the props keep changing? And it keeps probably calling this. The current ID is never apparently getting updated. Set current note is a thing, right? So let's console.log note. Undefined. I did this.props notes. I meant next props, but okay, it failed a little faster. Cannot read property notes of undefined. Not this.next props, next props, right? And I'm back to my infinite loop because it's not finding a note with that ID. So I need to do an if note, looks like. It's a lot of nested ifs, which I don't particularly like, but it's still doing it over and over. The props keep changing. Component will receive props keeps running over and over. Without our ever getting to this, it would appear. So why are our props changing? Notice it's never, oh, I took that out, but yeah, let's see. Does it get here? Yeah. So it's finding the note now, but current ID is still undefined every time. So if we set current note with a real note, then the next time we come back, the current ID should not be undefined. This.props.currentNote.id, right? Current note. Set current note is up in app. It should set the state of current note to note, whatever note we passed in, and we just checked in the console that we are passing in a real note. Oh, it's not an object. It just takes the note. Jiminy Christmas. That's more like it. Now it even loads it in. Okay, tiny little typo. In real life, you guys ever have that happen? You have some tiny little typo and it takes you forever to track it down? Yeah. Well, even though it wasn't exactly the lesson plan, it is probably somewhat valuable to see someone who's done this before track something like that down when it doesn't make any sense. So, see, I just kept putting more and more things in there until I discovered we were calling set current note with a real note, and it somehow wasn't updating it. So then I looked carefully at my arguments, and I saw I put curly braces around it because I'm so used to set state. But that's not what set current note receives. It just receives a note, not an object with a property of note. Because what happens when I call set state again, the state changes and the props change. So it keeps calling component will receive props, but this.props.currentNote.id never goes from undefined to the real one because I'm not successfully setting the real one. So it just stays different from new ID. New ID is still the one out of the params. And current node ID is never changing because I'm not successfully setting this. So it could be, for safety, maybe set current note should check that it's a real thing, but better to check at the other place for right now because we caught our error. Okay, so it looks like when I actually successfully visit a URL with a node ID in it, it does go to that node. So that thing we had right, except for the set current note part. So what about this other one? Let's look in our DevTools again. Let's look at the other note. This one. That's the ID of that one. These aren't terribly different titles, are they? Let's maybe change this one to. Oh, because I'm at the ID, right? So now that we're going to have to change that. That's where we're going, though. So let's go here. Now it loads the other one. Hit the back button, goes to a specific note. Forward button goes to a specific note. Let's see why that would be useful. Cool. Now we just have to worry about clicking on these. So load. The note in the form based on the ID in the param, in the route param.